Nice to meet you all, I think. Okay, we have Carbon Aldelite. So, Carbon Aldelite, we're a Belgian-based company, right? We have a satellite office here in London, which is basically me going up and down from Brussels. We are a carbon calculator. Yeah, we're a carbon calculator. We stick to carbon. We're a bit of a special tool. We collaborate exclusively with consultants, right? With sustainability experts for a very clear reason. Basically, first thing, we see carbon accounting following a little bit the steps of financial accounting, where there is an expert that puts together the reports nicely, but the companies are still owning the data collection process. I guess you can challenge me on that a little bit currently, whether companies are already doing that or not, but we definitely see it as the way to go, right? You guys know your data, have the data. If you can gather it and give it to a sustainability expert, they will help you put together your reports and submit the information that you are required by either regulation, customers, suppliers, you name it, right? So we will be here. I don't know whether you can see the arrow. These guys would be IMS, right? So the whole team, I think, is here. I recognize quite a bit of faces. And this would be the companies, right? So the end companies that companies like IMS are currently helping with their sustainability reports, strategies, etc. What we do in the tool, so I think currently the biggest pain in carbon reporting is really collecting the data. It's quite a bit of data that you need to collect. It's not always straightforward. You can always start with your accounting data and use your accounting numbers as a single source of truth, but there is quite a bit of uncertainty embedded in those numbers when it comes to carbon. Therefore, it would be like a start of the journey to then move to activity-based reports, supplier-specific emissions, and these kind of things, right? First thing we do is basically help companies streamline this process, right? So help you participate of the process, develop a project and a series of steps that you can easily follow recurrently to calculate your emissions. We do the calculation, right? So then once you get the data in tool, we map it with an emission factor. The experts in this case will decide what are the correct emission factors for you to use, depending a bit on your situation, geographical location, etc. And then we show it to you nicely in a dashboard, right? So you can read the data, understand the numbers, see where they're coming from, and use it to both calculate your targets, right? So I think pretty much everybody that calculates a carbon footprint, either you're requested by a customer to just simply give it, or you're going to look into reducing your emissions, right? For that, you need to set up some targets. You can align with organizations like the Science-Based Targets Initiative, or you can simply have internal KPIs, or you might have both, right? Targets set, then you can start to develop actions, right, to reduce those emissions to be able to achieve those targets. We also have a place in the tool where we can allow you to simulate a little bit the impact of doing this or that, right? We will now link it also to financial numbers, so you can see not only how much carbon you're going to reduce according to your forecast, but also how much will it cost to do such a thing, right? And I think that's definitely an important part of it. Final point is the reporting part, right? So I think pretty much everybody who does something like this wants a nice document that can submit either to an organization, a supplier, a customer. So we are compliant with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol report, which is kind of the basics of all carbon calculations and reporting. Also the ISO 14064 which it's quite interesting in you're looking into being verified by a third party, right? The Greenhouse Gas Protocol is maybe a bit too nice in the way that they define the guidelines. The ISO is a bit more strict, which facilitates that third parties can give verification, limited assurance, these kind of things. And that gets me to the auditing point, right? So we're a third-party validated software, right? I think probably the toughest check is really the consultants that collaborate with us. They have the hardest questions. But we're also getting a certification agency similar to UCAS, but in Belgium, going through the tool on a yearly basis, check that we're compliant with all different points of the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, the ISO, checking our reports and our emission factors. As you may know, by now. Sustainability is quite a changing world, right? So then being compliant on a yearly basis is quite important, as some of the requirements might have changed. Some of the information that you need to disclose might change, these kind of things. So that's also what we bring to the table, right? First of all, ensure that you're compliant, right? Even if you're reporting on a yearly basis, your emission factors, even if they only come from DEFRA or the UK government, might change, right? The way you calculate the methodology, the reports that you need to get out of the tool are automatically updated by us. Therefore, you just need to work, right? Collect your data, get it into the tool, make sure that it is complete, but we will ensure that the reports and the calculations that you're doing are correct, right? Provide actionable insights. This is a bit of maybe a legacy issue. I'm not sure how often it's still around, but it used to be that basically when you calculated your carbon, you gave a bunch of data to someone, they put together a huge Excel, very complicated, then they give it back. There might be someone in the organization that knows how that Excel works. If that person leaves, it's a bit of a problem. We try to make sure that companies can engage with this part, understand how it works, understand the methodology, and we are quite transparent in showing all the nitty-gritty details of the calculations. You don't need to engage with them, right? But at least you can see them if you're interested. And the final point, reduce the time you spend, right? I think the moment that you start considering calculating your emissions, whoever you're talking to, they might start to ask questions about, or basically tell you what kind of data do you need to collect. Then you realize you pretty much need to engage every single department in the organization. If you're a multinational or an organization composed by separate entities, you start to see that this is going to be a bit of a mess. We try to facilitate that and streamline that so you can spend less time processing data in order to calculate your emissions. Right? I'm going quite fast, but I think we will have a couple of minutes for Q&A. Otherwise, you're free to interrupt me. This is again on the point of the third-party verification, right? And I think this is something that you can easily get, I think, from our website or of our tool if you're curious about what does it entail to be third-party validated in the carbon ecosystem. And it's, as I mentioned, for the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, but especially or more importantly for the ISO 14064, right, where they have more strict guidelines. This part I will skip because it's a very bad slide. It just has a lot of text. I included it in case you're going to share the presentation afterwards, so you can check in detail all the different points that we're compliant with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol. And as a bonus card, I put here the CSRDs. If you have European entities, you might be requested to report on the European Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, which, as you can all imagine, is pretty complex and full of questions in different parts.
Sorry, how many people are caught by CSRD at the moment?
Well,
Two. Yeah. Okay.
Still waiting for the Commission to exactly say what's going to be, right? Perfect. The part that we cover on the CSRDs is really the environmental part, right? And I think the good thing about that part is that it's pretty consistent across the different reports. So if the Commission would say no more CSRDs for companies from 250 to 1,000 employees, but we make a comprehensive VSME report. By the way, sustainability, if you like acronyms, this is the place to be, right? So voluntary SMEs, basically the same. The only thing is that scope 3 is kind of voluntary. However, that was set for companies below 250 employees. So if we would go above 250, that would need to be reassessed probably. But that's at least the tangible part of CSRDs, and I hope it will remain similar to what we all expect. Dashboard, target setting, and simulation. What we aim to do, right? Basically, we have quite a bit of companies calculating their emissions inside Carbon Aldehyd, different sizes, different industries, different locations. So it's always kind of hard to put a number to exactly how much time do we save by using the tool. But we've estimated that it's around 20%. I would say if you're on the larger side, of the companies, then you probably save quite a bit more time. If you're an international company, I don't know if there are a lot of them today here, then you save even more time because we combine, or we remove the pain of having to find different emission factor sources, different documents that you might receive from this person or that person, these kind of things. And now we're basically sprinting towards using a bit of artificial intelligence. I was doubting whether to use the word or not because I know it's a bit of a buzzword at this point, but if it's clear that that is good at something, is processing data, right? Whatever document you give to ChatGPT and likewise tools, they will be able to tell you whatever you want about it, right? Summarize it, give me bullet points, this and that. So it's pretty straightforward that it should be able to, again, from whatever Excel file, PDF file, structure the data, give it in the format that you want it, so you can easily get it in the tool to calculate your emissions. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't mention SECR. We also provide that kind of reporting, linking to the fact that we're quite active in the UK. And this is a bit of an overview about carbon aldehyde, right? I think the most important parts, right, developed by PhDs. I'm not sure that's super important, but I would say carbon geeks, right? So basically people that are quite into the details of carbon calculations. Third-party validated, definitely an important one, especially if you have to do CS or this, because I'm almost 100% sure that will be part of the deal. Used and validated by 100 sustainability consultants, right? I think, well, Graham, you're here. I saw Mike, I think. People that know a lot about this basically check the tool and work with the tool on a recurring basis. So they keep us on our tippy toes in terms of doing our job good. And best-in-class Net Promoter Score, I think this is a concept that it's only used in software, right? But it's basically how many of your customers would refer you or recommend you to similar people. I think we have quite a good score there. I think it's 70 or 80%. I would say industry standard is like 50%, right?